RTD Live Talk, Detroit's #1 late night YouTube talk show. We are officially live for another Wednesday night live stream. Excited to be back to go over a couple of hot topics in the mainstream news, as well as to find out what else is on your mind as far as what other subject matter might come across your attention span today. Want to hear about it. So, as always, my name is Mike, the host of RTD Live Talk. Looking forward to connecting. So as always, I want to make sure I welcome any first-time viewers. If you are out there, let me know where you're watching from. We'd love to welcome you as well as acknowledge your presence. And if we have any returning viewers to the RTD community, definitely let me know where you're watching from in the chat. We'd like to get more participants sharing their thoughts as well as their viewpoints. So feel free to let me know what's on your mind via chat, or when the phone lines open up, give me a call and we can touch on some of that some of those topics. So as always, let me not acknowledge a couple people here. We got BC and the Matrix joining us. We got AA Ron. We got Tony Blaylock. We got Truth or Nothing. We got Felipe. It says permanent 600 a week payments. So I'm assuming that's what you're hoping for, wanting, or what? Let me know. JBW said, "What's up, Mike? How you doing, my friend?" I was watching I Pet Goat 2. Okay, I haven't seen that one, Tony. Says whether employed or unemployed. So basically, you're looking for a little bit more stimulus on your end as well. We got Glenn. How you doing, my friend? And so I want to also, I think last night I mentioned about wanting confirmation on the stimulus plan that's been rolled out in Canada. And so haven't quite been able to pinpoint exactly the details of it, other than hearing about some type of allotment, a payment allotment every 2 weeks up in Canada. So I'm not sure if that's just for the unemployed or what that's about. So any Canadian viewers, definitely let me know what's happening up in Canada. Because for whatever reason, I'm, Metro Detroit area, maybe 15 minutes from the bridge and the tunnel to Canada. Don't really hear much about what's going on in Canada, cases or nothing. So I know here the mainstream media is making sure that they announce an ever increasing amount of cases per day. And so it's just, they talk about cases, nothing else, never about recoveries or deaths or anything. Now it's all about cases. And so, of course, we can see the agenda with that. The bigger the number, the more the panic, the more the government involvement and everything, as well as that urgency or that sense of urgency that they're trying to create for the vaccine and things of that nature. We got Barlight Broker. Appreciate the love offer. It says, did somebody say big gold chain? So I appreciate you, man. Always keeping us on point in reference to the gold subject matter. Blackjack says they live shows what they do. All right, so I got a couple articles I want to touch on, and then we can open the phone lines. We'd love to hear from you guys. Aaron says download your digital wallet to get the next round of stimulus. Yeah, I think that's coming. I will probably say we're maybe another 2 or 3 rounds of relief, as they would like to say. They say pandemic relief or coronavirus relief or whatever they call it. So we're about 2 or 3 away, I believe, before there will be a payment method via some type of app. And then I see here Farm of the Life says people are getting unemployment through Cash App. So that's very interesting how Cash App, of course, if you have Cash App, they sent out a notification saying that you can get your direct payments through them. They give you a routing number and a checking number through some bank on the East Coast or something. So Cash App is definitely available, but I'd imagine the Federal Reserve and Treasury and the orchestrators of this, relief or stimulus or whatever it's called, allowance, they want to do it on their own platform, centrally controlled, of course. All right, let me see here. I believe it's definitely in the cards. Low blood pressure. What happened to Spirit King? I'm not sure, man. I think you guys maybe have ran them off or something like that, man. Give me the rundown on what happened with Spirit King. So I've heard a lot of people referring to and referencing where's Spirit King. And so, let me know what happened. Were there some back and forth in the chat or what? Let me know. And we'll definitely touch on that. So let me shut my mouth and get into a couple articles here let me I gotta close this out real quick. Give me 1 second. Close this out real quick, and then I will share with you a couple articles that just caught my attention with the subject matter that I wanted to definitely address, because it's one of the things where, are you surprised? And I'm trying to, refresh the page here. Give me 1 second, and I'll bring this page up here. Okay, I don't want this one. All right, so let me try to refresh this page. Okay, I'm attempting to log out, but it was not letting me log out. Anyway, okay. So let me just pop up the screen here, share with you a couple of things that caught my attention today. Of course, it's maybe 3 or 4 stories out of a million. Can't get to them all, but you guys know what we're talking about here. So here's something that came across from Zero Hedge. And so as you guys can see here, it says 53%. 53% of restaurants closed during this current lockdown have shuttered permanently, Yelp data shows. And so I was actually just thumbing through this briefly, getting an idea as to some of the figures and the numbers here of restaurants here. And of course, there's a couple favorites in my neck of the woods that I like to go to, of which my most favorite one out of them all hasn't opened yet. And I take it that they may not be opening up. And so, I guess it's that definitely hurts because I was one of my favorite restaurants. But yeah, and so he says as of June 15th, there were 140 total businesses closures on website since March 1st. When they compared to, it says research released in April, that was 175 businesses closures. So they're throwing out large numbers here. And so 53% of restaurants definitely will not be opening up. And I imagine a couple of these restaurants may have taken some of that PPP funds, and yet they also managed to close. And the question is, are they still paying for their employment, which is probably good, or their employees, which is probably good to say no. And so here, let me go to the next one here. So here's another something out of the UK from Market Watch. It says the British government says it will pick up half the checks at restaurants to help boost the economy. So could you imagine their attempt to provide some relief for the economy by incentivizing people to go out to restaurants, and for whatever reason, they're going to pick up half the tab. So interesting, man. This is it says Brits dining out in restaurants will have the cost of half of their meals picked up by the government in an attempt to get them out and spending. So, of course, every recession, that's what is officially as of February. I think that they basically just came out, gave it an official title of recession. But I, as amongst many others, believe we're already past the point of a recession. We're in the Great Recession / depression, if not headed somewhere worse. But every type of recession, when the economy contracts, they try to incentivize people some way or another by telling them to go out and spend. And that right there is the problem, because a lot of people right now, especially the unemployed, are not so concerned with spending the way they used to. So here we have the government subsidizing restaurants. And so any of my viewers in UK have taken advantage of that, definitely let me know here. And then here's something else. New Jersey. The governor's basically said that if you cannot distance yourself, you must wear a mask outside. And so we've been talking about this for a while. One of the objectives of pushing like a national mandatory mask wearing amongst the people. And of course, that won't go over too well. And so here's Governor Phil Murphy says face coverings are now required in outdoor public spaces when social distancing is not practicable. So, yeah, I'd imagine if you're one of the states that's experiencing an uptick in cases, this type of behavior or recommendations might be coming to an area near you. So, what else? We got a couple more things. Got a couple more articles here I'll touch on, but want to briefly check in and see who's watching. As always, any new viewers, let me know where you're watching from. I want to open up the phone lines, and I would love to hear about any other subject matter that has come across your attention today. Let's talk about it. And so let me see here. Sounds like Welfare Mike. Brandon Command, what's up? It says, rest in peace, Silver King. Oh, man. I'm still trying to figure out what happened. And so Barley Bro says, we owe China food and they aren't sending stuff until they get their food. Yeah. So it has a lot to do with the China trade deal. Of course, we're not being told anywhere near half the truth of what's really going on. But China has a world of problems on their front doorstep right now. Sunset says, why don't they pay half of the groceries instead? More cost effective. Yeah. I would assume that's their way of trying to, I guess, kill two birds with one stone. You incentivize people to consume, because all of the developed world economy is built upon consumption. So you get people out and about spending, because more than likely you just don't go to a restaurant you tend to go get some dessert afterwards, a movie, or whatever else might be available. So you usually just don't go to a restaurant and come right back home, typically. So they want to get you out and about consuming. And then what better way to prop up the businesses there by covering half the bill? And I assume the UK probably has not done any type of PPP program the way the US has. So it's interesting how the US seem to be leading the way in all these new creative ways of funneling funds to business owners and the top 1%, which ultimately makes its way to the shareholders of these corporations. And so once again, it's their best way of trying to make it seem like it's for the people, but it's really for the institutions and the banks. Vince Grant, how you doing, my friend? It says silver's looking prime, my man. Yeah, so definitely. I saw today silver got up to, I think I saw it almost 19. I saw somewhere it said actually 19, but there's so many different places that list the spot price that it's hard to keep track of everything. But it's definitely doing a lot better than some of the old archaic dying financial products they're spinning out there. And then another article that I wanted to touch on that I didn't get a chance to read happens to do with the yield curve. It looks like the Federal Reserve is definitely that momentum of speeding up of them controlling the yield curve, primarily around the 10-year Treasury, which, watch some commentators, comment on it and basically said it's confirming negative rates without actually having to go negative of the real Fed funds interest rates, which is one of those things where, if they're pricing the cap of what borrowing costs would be for the future, it's just one of the things where who's actually going to put funds in treasuries. If you can't really make a yield off of it, especially if inflation picks up, what's the point of holding that stuff? So that type of activity would be very good for gold and silver, as always. Gold Bupper says, trying to get PPP loan for silver. Oh, man, I bet you are. Natural Mama says, I like to see you interview Ron Paul. I've reached out to Ron Paul. He's not an easy gentleman to get up with, but I've reached out to some of his email addresses and whatnot. Haven't heard from him, so definitely I can continue to try that. And says, Mike, talk about the dollar death cross today. Okay, so I saw an article about it, but I didn't get a chance to dive in further to it, so I'm not too well versed on the details of that, Tony Blaylock. But if you have some insights, feel free to give me a call. Let's talk about it. And it's so one of the things where, like I mentioned before, the dollar death cross, all dollars aren't created equal. All dollars aren't the same. So we talk about the Federal Reserve note in particular with that on the international scene. And of course, without even having to really know the details of how that goes down, the Federal Reserve note is not necessarily something that governments will want to do business with for much longer. So I'm not sure how they're going to try to spend off more life into that thing, but it is what it is. But open the phone lines up. Let's talk a little bit. Give me a call. I'm curious to hear what's on your mind, and we can talk a little further. And so it says you won't be able to buy coins on eBay anymore. And that's one thing I have not looked to do in quite some time. Let me actually try to do that and see what the premiums of eBay. How many eBay shoppers do we have out there that go for their bullion on eBay? So let's say I'm going to type in silver coins. Let's see what comes up. What's the premium on them things? All right, so let me type in. So here we have, just type in silver on eBay. And so we have a lot of some numismatics, 45, 47, 207, 47, 65, 48, 66, 35, 38. So it looks like you can definitely make a couple of dollars if you sell your stock on eBay. But let's get to this call. Curious to find out what's on your guys' mind. Let me cut this up so I can hear. Hello, caller. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Hey, Mike. This is Aaron from Iowa. How are you?
I'm doing good, Aaron from Iowa. What's on your mind tonight, my friend?
Well, I got a question for you. I just want your input. I'll lay the question out, and I will let you respond.
Okay.
If lines of credit are not getting available to small businesses,
mm-hmm.
When you go to cash in your gold and silver at these small coin dealers,
mm-hmm.
and they use a lot of lines of credit to help them access cash, to help you cash in your coins, how are people who bring in, let's say, 2,000 ounces of silver,
mm-hmm.
when prices go up to $50, $70 an ounce.
Mm-hmm.
How are they going to get the cash to give to us if we go cash in our coins? I'll let you ponder that, and love your show, and you have a great evening.
Appreciate you, my friend. Thanks for that question. I'll definitely share my thoughts on that. Thanks for calling in.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. All right, great question there. So that's definitely something worthy of thinking about. And so he's saying if coin dealers and small businesses, coin shops, whatnot, rely upon credit for their activity transaction-wise, how will there be enough? Will they have access to funds to actually purchase bullion down the line when it's time to, when people go to sell it back in? So that's a great question. And so my first thought is all of the big boys, you got the SD bullions, you have the JM bullions, you got the Scottsdale Mint, you got all those big players out there. I would imagine that they're sitting on some cash reserves. And so I think they would do fine. Now, your actual small coin shop type places, I'm not quite sure how that would work. And so I'm not too well versed enough to know how they do business on a day-to-day basis, because up until this point, we haven't really seen any true runs like that to where they've run out of cash to be able to purchase things back. So I would imagine a good portion of the coin dealers that have been in business for some time, they're anticipating something like this. So they're probably prepared, and they'll have a little cash on hand, and then factor in whatever bullion they do have. There'll be people that's still looking to bring in and pay with cash itself. So as long as cash is circulating and their doors are open and they have some product in the form of metals, they're going to be, I think there's still cash be going back and forth to where not sure they'll be necessarily needing a full line of credit to do business, in the short term. But in the long term, I have no clue. So I'd imagine as long as cash is still circulating, they'll be able to make transactions and be able to redeem some of those notes for metals and vice versa. But great call, great thought. I appreciate you for sharing that thought. John Colorado says, any shops where to buy a 24 Cuban link gold chain? Any shops? I don't know. Other than I don't know if 24 karat, because not many places sell 24 karat gold chains, period. So the first thing come to mind, which you may not find a gold Cuban link, but actually there's an interesting website. Let me see if I can find it. Let me see. There is, for any of my individuals that, let me see, Sabaj. And so one of the owners of Gold Money has a place where you can actually go buy 24 karat gold jewelry. And so I'll actually put up on the screen here for anybody that so here's chain. So I'll put this on the screen here. So if anybody has interest and want to acquire some 24 karat gold outright, here's a lot of different products they have here, but it's all pure 24 karat gold products. They got chains, medallions, whatever, and they actually have the actual price of that with the spot price on top of it. So they sell it by the gram. So just go to MENE.com, and you can pick yourself up some gold there if you want. So yeah, that's where you can get those chains at. No Cuban links though, I don't think. But anyway, give me a call. Missed a couple calls. I apologize for that. So I see something about cash. What we got here? Something about cash. Inflation is printing money with increasing money supply. What else we got here? I saw something about cash. You want bullion jewelry. Hyperinflation. During the hyperinflation, there's too much cash in circulation. Yes. And so so if cash goes away, how will drug dealers get paid? I remember seeing all types of, military raids and police raids where not only do the drug cartels or whatnot, not only do they have large pallets of cash, but they also got bricks of gold and silver as well. So for larger transactions, I would imagine they'll be willing to accept some gold and silver as well. And then on top of that, I would imagine a lot of people in that industry might be open to using cryptocurrencies of all kind of whatnot. And so Barlight Broker says he's a gold chain expert. So what's the best place to get a Cuban link online, Barlight Broker? Let us know. Yeah, man. Anyway, so phone lines are open. Dealers will use Monero or any other type of privacy coin. I'm a big fan of privacy coins. I think that's the closest thing we can get to any resemblance of cash that's relatively a seamless transaction, as long as you know what you're doing, that has some form of anonymity to it. So what else you got here? Where do you get your change from? All right, so I'm going to touch on another article I wanted to share with you guys. Let me see here. Okay, pull this up in 1 second. Hello, caller. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Hey, Mike. How's it going? This is Charles from Atlanta.
Charles from Atlanta. How you doing, my friend? What's on your mind tonight?
Hey, check out our article. I'm not sure if you saw it. United Airlines.
Oh, yeah.
Layoff 36,000.
36,000. Yes, I did see that. And so.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was just saying that's crazy because Boeing's CEO, like 2 months ago, got roasted by Delta CEO because he came out and said one of three major airlines is going to fail. And we didn't know who it was. Now we got to see who it is.
Yeah, and so I also saw another article today that was referring to a couple other airlines, and it was a couple names thrown out there, but I didn't get a chance to really dive into it. But so United Airlines will not be the only airlines, and I think outside of a couple other airlines that have the coronavirus package relief, where they were subsidized or bought by the government or whatever, I think they will still probably be laying off as well and using those PPP funds for operational costs outside of their payroll. So so this is definitely not good news, man. So this is basically the end of United Airlines, you think?
I think so, but I think they're going to get absorbed either by American or by Delta. They may split them up half and half and just, could be two majors at this point. Southwest may eventually become a third major at some point.
Yeah. Interesting, man. So not 36,000 workers, man. So I imagine a good portion of these people are already furloughed or, probably already relieved of duty a long time ago. But yet this story is just hitting the news now because they probably added to the list. So, but yeah, man.
Yeah.
Appreciate you. Appreciate you for sharing this information, Buzz.
Oh, no problem. Have a good night.
Yeah, you too.
All right.
Hello, caller. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Yeah, this is G calling from South Carolina.
G from South Carolina. How you doing, my friend? What's on your mind?
Yes, I was wondering if do you have any information on the economic injury disaster loan? I actually applied for it when all this started coming out, and I was approved for it.
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to know, have you heard are there any like what I call gotchas? I was approved for like $68,000. And it's at 3.75 interest rate over 30 years. I just wanted to know I don't really need the money, but since I was approved for it, I was told that, go ahead and take it since it's so low interest rate. But, sometimes with the government, things can get messy. So just kind of wanted to know your thoughts on that.
All right. So I've heard about it, but I don't know much in detail. And so I pulled up something as you were speaking, and I'm assuming is this the economic injury disaster loan emergency advance?
Yes.
Okay. So other than seeing some information here, I haven't dived into it further to really give much insight on it. But it's one of those things where I would imagine, without knowing the full details, it's one of those programs that's thrown out there to give the illusion that they're trying to provide money for small businesses all in once, similar to the way that when the whole bailout program happened initially with the banks back in the Great Recession, they didn't discuss who received it, but they made all the banks take it so it can kind of shuffle them all in the deck. So I think these type of programs are more so designed for that as well. Like they got the 11 lending facilities, they got these small business loans, but it's made it look like they're trying to provide liquidity for everybody. But in actuality, it's all meant to prop up the system, the financial banking sector wise. So I don't think it's designed to really help people benefit or profit that much unless you got some plans for it. So off rip, I would just say that this is not something that I personally would go down a road of, just because the fine print of it, who knows what they might change down the line.
Right.
That's just my 2 cents there. But anybody in the audience have any thoughts about this, feel free to call in or put in the chat so we'll be better informed. But just my initial thought, my friend.
Okay, and I have one other quick question.
Yes, sir.
When it comes to, you said that, I remember listening to you one time, and you said something about when you give your money to the bank, it's no longer yours. So if you're trying to explain that to the average person, how do you show them proof that your money is no longer yours once it's inside of a bank account.
Good point there. Okay, so let me think about that one. So, like, it's all the information that I've gathered, because I've read. Let me see here. I did a video a while back referring to what was it? It was the reports that all the commercial banks had to present to the FDIC, and they list how they would resolve their matters if they got into trouble, and it listed the people, shareholders, all the people who have deposits was all listed there, and it mentioned, like, generic deposits where you're considered I think a tier 1 or tier 2 shareholder, and then it goes down further to say shareholders of tier 1 will be last in row to get, so it gave detail, but that was within that documentation. So I don't remember what it's called offhand, but I read some of the too big to fail papers, and it had it listed the same way, how they would file for bankruptcy and how they would resolve their issues by paying depositors last or not at all. So I can try to find that video, but yet I wish I could have better information offhand right now, but I'm not drawing a blank right now.
Okay.
But that's a great question, though, because I wish there was something I could put out there, like a big bulletin, and say, "Hey, this is what it is." But it's one of the things where you got to go dig for it, then try to interpret it for somebody. So it's one of the things they've done a good job of hiding it under the scenes, where it makes it hard to translate it for you directly to people itself. So, yeah.
Right. Okay.
All right, man. But I appreciate the question. Definitely, I wish I could be a better help, man. But other than reading the papers myself, I'm drawing a blank on how to relay it to other people.
Right. Okay.
All right, my man. Thanks for the call.
Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah, man. Appreciate the call. Yeah. So that's a toughie right there, because we know about it, but it's like, man, you gotta have some evidence to prove it. And so that's where it's like, man, it's in all those white papers. Anyway, hello, caller. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Hey, Mike. It's Matt from Nashville.
Matt from Nashville. How you doing, my friend? What's in your mind?
Oh, nothing. I didn't know if you've looked into this or not, and I'm sure you've seen memes or something where somebody will put something out that says, if you don't like the country, you can leave. You seen those?
Yeah, I've seen some of those. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, they've actually stopped issuing passports.
Officially?
I have a passport. My wife has a passport, but we're trying to get passports for my 3 children, just in case, stuff hits the fan and it might be wiser to leave the country. And they're not issuing them unless you can. It's like for funerals or deaths outside of the country, and if you have to leave within 72 hours. So if it's a funeral that you have to go to, like if I think my mom or something in Puerto Rico, she's got like 6 months to live. Yeah, they're not letting me leave unless she's dead, and I have to be there within 3 days. Then they will issue me a passport.
So they basically put the burden on each citizen to prove why they would be worthy of having one on such short notice. And then I would imagine, it'd probably be a little bit of a pain in the butt to try to go through the process to get in touch with somebody to get the process expedited or whatnot. And so they're making it very difficult to try to keep people inside the country. It looks like, yeah. I heard that they closed the offices down, but I thought they opened back up again. So I don't know. I didn't know it was a permanent situation. So. But yeah,
that's the phase we're in right now. So it's still closed. And yeah, they said that if I did need to get one, that it's pretty extensive questionnaire. And I was like, well, nobody's dead, so there's no way I'm going to be able to BS my way through a whole lot of questions. So.
Yeah, man, that's something.
But yeah, I didn't know if you knew that. So I just wanted to call. I knew, man, Michael find this interesting.
Yeah, definitely. I knew that they were, dialing back, and they had, because all the offices closed, everything was shut down. They picked and choose the departments of the government that was essential and was non-essential. And of course, helping people get out of the country via passport was not considered essential. So they shut it down. But I thought they opened back up. But yeah, and so hey, man. But thanks for bringing it to my attention again.
You got it. I'll see you, man.
Yeah, be good.
Good night.
Yep.
Bye.
Good stuff, man. So I see here, let me look this up real quick. So Broad Broker says, Mike, here's a chain for you on eBay. Search men's modern white 105 gram chain. So let me pull up this eBay again and see what we got here. So I go men's. What is it? Men's white. What you got here? Men's modern. Okay. Modern. White. 105-gram chain. All right, let's see what pops up. All right, so I got a couple of things here. Let me put this on the screen. All right, so typed in what you said, Broad Light Broker. Let me see what we got here. Okay, 24, 14 karat though. That's $4,000 for a 24 incher. And we got 14 karat, 22, like 105 biker, 14 karat. So yeah, okay. So if anybody out there want to invest in one of these men's modern 24-inch chains, you know where to go. Thanks to Mr. Broad Light Broker. Appreciate you, my friend, for sharing some information on that one. I have the same chain in yellow gold. It says, we got Nike said, my wife was told that they aren't issuing passports till further notice. Makes one wonder about the wall. Yeah. So yeah, that's another thing about the wall. So if Trump, I think, was it 2 or 3 weeks ago, did a little visit down there, and looks like everything is progressing just fine. The wall is almost partially done and things like that. And yeah, is it designed to keep us in? We'll see. I think they closed the borders, I think in Arizona and a couple other places. So, I saw something about Mexico at this current moment do not want Americans coming in. So ain't that something else? Like before, we was trying to turn away everybody below the equator or the border, but now Mexico don't want us. Alexander Gomez says, Jury Channel. Let me see here. Okay, so it says, did you read the article? What article are we referring to, Philman? We shop in network now. Yeah, I rather, me personally, keep it sweet and simple outside of, the one I have. Just get some just very inconspicuous and, I can hide with no problem. But anyway, phone lines are open, man. What's on your mind? Let's talk a little bit longer. Curious to find out what other stories is developing that you guys want to touch on. And so I'm curious, your thoughts on the mainstream media now, for whatever reason, is really starting to give more attention to Mr. Kanye West running for president. And I guess today he mentioned that he's taken off his red hat and that he's no longer on the Trump bandwagon, assuming he wants to become an independent person where he is not known as the Make America Great guy. And so what do you guys think about all this? I'm curious to find out. So I'll share my thoughts on this as well. And then I saw some comments about how Kanye West is talking about Joe Biden, basically like he's going at Joe Biden. Like he's not really talking about Trump. He's going at Joe Biden. So is this a part of the Kanye West called Trump, and is this a strategy to divert attention from Biden or what? Is this Kanye West out there on his own trying to just draw some more attention to himself to increase the sales of his products and services and all that type of stuff? So curious to find out what you guys think. So the first time it says men's modern white 105. Let me see. So Barley Broke, you talking about to pull the same chain up again or what? First time got my mic checked official. Kanye ain't got no shame. So yeah, so here's a question. Kanye album is coming. So you think this is all a stunt for his next album promotion? At this point you never know, man. It says, is Kanye abandoning his church Sunday service? Yeah, man. You really can't tell what the agenda of these people is, but I must admit it's entertaining, man. Like I would definitely love to see Kanye gain some momentum. And even though I heard people mention that it's too late to actually cast his ballots in certain states, but yet you can do the little write-in portion. But then again, we have the narrative today about based upon the way things are going and with the whole fall anticipation of course, with this continuous push for an increase in cases numbers, that's going to be their way of saying the second wave is here and whatever else. So that's one of them things where I anticipate by September, October, we'll have a better idea as to what's going to happen in November. And I'd imagine between now and then, we're going to hear some very shocking news or some kind that's going to put things in better perspective. Because I'm still trying to see if this whole drain the swamp and expose some of the deep state is actually real, or if that's a part of his President Trump's initial campaign. But hello, caller. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Hey, Mike. How's it going? Brando Commando.
Brando Commando. I'm doing good, my friend. What's on your mind tonight?
Hey, so I saw an article earlier today from the Atlantic talking about the upcoming bank collapse.
Okay.
And it was comparing it to the 2008 mortgage-backed securities collapse, but this time around they're calling it they call them CLOs, which is basically commercial lending. So they said back in 2008, the mortgage-backed securities bubble was about $650 billion, but this time around, the commercial lending-backed securities is around $1 trillion.
Okay, so I read an article. I read something about that a while ago, and I'm familiar with it, and I think we may have touched on it before, but that's another thing that has been swept under the mainstream news primarily because it hasn't been talked about much. And a lot of that stuff has to do with a lot of the current businesses that's going out of business now and the amount of debt that they've taken on. So that's all starting to be exposed a little bit. That's why I think all these lending facilities and windows and even the PPP, I think, is probably designed to help some of those businesses out to be able to pay off some of that debt. Because once again, who's going to audit any of that PPP loan stuff? You know what I'm saying? So at this point, we don't know where those trillions and billions are going, but we know where they have to go ultimately, which is back to the too big to fail banks. So, yeah.
So the article was talking about somehow that when you package them up into like a CLO, I forget exactly what it's called. It's kind of like maybe a commercial lending obligation.
Oh, so yeah, collateralized loan obligations.
Right. So the Federal Reserve was saying, when you package it up that way, it somehow puts the liability outside of the banking industry.
Yeah, because they become some type of financial product that they have a variety of people that can actually purchase them. So not only are the too big to fail banks and other commercial banks actually holding them, you got hedge funds that can buy them. You got all these other financial institutions that can purchase them as well. Because I want to say the article I'm thinking about, like JP Morgan, all the too big to fail banks, they had exposure to them, but they were not the only ones holding a large amounts of those things. And so it was diversified amongst all the institutions because they were packaged as a viable asset. But yet, we know debt right now is not necessarily an asset people want to hold on to if you're not able to service those debts. So, yeah, but it's imploding.
Yeah, I mean, I think you said a couple of weeks ago that the Federal Reserve is going to be the buyer and lender of last resort, and little by little, they're kind of just printing up enough cash to buy everything. Yeah,
they're definitely expanding their balance sheet by extending digital, basically adding more to the ledger of different institutions to provide a little liquidity for them. So, and that's like a lot of that. Really, a majority of that has not been turned into actual physical cash just yet. And so the Treasury, if you look at the Federal Reserve of New York, their balance sheet, I think 1.5 trillion in actual paper is sitting in a pallet in the vaults for the Treasury to use for whatever. So that's where a good portion of the paper that has been created is in existence right now. It belongs to Uncle Sam. So the digital stuff is being transferred everywhere else. So yeah, they got the paper and digits on their side.
Yeah, I'm waiting for it, man. Any day now. But just to change some gears real quick. Something I was thinking about the coronavirus.
Yeah.
You know how lots of people get the chicken pox and then they claim they're immune to it, but it comes back when you're older, like 20 years down the line. I've been looking at latent viruses. Like these viruses, they don't seem to ever get eradicated. Like you don't ever seem to get over a virus completely. Yeah. It's always hiding out in you somewhere. So I'm kind of thinking that they test so many people, and so many of us are testing positive, yet we have no symptoms. So it's kind of suspicious in the thing that I'm thinking we almost all have the virus. It's just a lot of us keep it suppressed, and we don't get sick from it. So I was thinking about measles, herpes, hepatitis, tetanus, polio. All these viruses have the ability to come back in the future. It's like you never get rid of it.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of thinking that I don't know what they're really testing for. And whenever they claim to have a positive case, I don't think it's something that you just contracted like in a contagious fashion.
Yeah.
What if this is something that we all just have inside of us that every now and then, if your immunity gets weakened, and the symptoms come flashing back?
Yeah, I wouldn't doubt it. And my personal theory on the reason for so much testing is because they want to have information as to who has been impacted as a part of the next step, which is that tracking mechanism. So I personally believe everybody who has been tested, they're in a database somewhere. So they have direct information as to who is positive, who's not, who's been tested, so that it makes it easier for them to implement the tracking side of things, so that down the line when the vaccine stuff is ready, they'll know exactly who to go to or whatnot. So I think it's all about, providing some names for their database. That's the ultimate goal for all this testing, because once again, they're talking about the cases going up, but that's it. What about the people who recover, who are able to operate without it, if actually have shown up and with bad symptoms, and the death rate and all that stuff is extremely low still. So ultimately, it's impacted those who have health issues and are older, all that stuff like that. We know that already, but they're still using that idea that the numbers are growing. Okay, they're talking about not a school situation, talking about altering the ways we go back to school for the kids. Like, I haven't heard much about many kids contracting it or having severe issues with it. So
no, hardly any at all.
Yeah. So I personally, if it's like that, we might just have to live with it. I'll be fine with living with it, as long as it just doesn't, become, problematic for my existence. But I'd rather live with it than have to take a vaccine for it. That's my opinion.
Yeah, of course, man. I mean, a lot of us, they said 80% have no symptoms, and then 15% might have some, and then 10% of them might require hospitalization. So we're already down to 0.1% of people who actually get sick. So I'm thinking to myself, none of this is adding up. It's completely ridiculous, right? So like I told you, I'm a pharmacist. So today I was cruising the Infectious Disease Society of America, the IDSA, and I'm reading all their guidelines for the COVID, and how to test for it, and how to treat for it. And they assembled a panel of experts, and they came up with recommendations. But they had to explain their recommendations, and at pretty much the last line of everything they recommend, they're the quality of evidence is very low for this recommendation. So it's basically just a bunch of chumps sitting around shooting the shit, making up guidelines and admitting that the body of evidence is extremely low.
Yeah, very true, man. So it just shows more about how this has become more about the overall agenda for those that's orchestrating this, as opposed to the true facts of what's happening on the ground, and how it's one of the things where it was never worth shutting down the entire economy for, other than a cover up of trying to start all these windows and facilities and stuff because of the economy crumbling. Man. So
I'm on the verge of setting up a little Girl Scout cookie table outside Walmart and just start handing out information. I mean, what else can I do? I mean, you have to do something.
Yeah.
There's so many people in the dark on this, and they just go along with it because they don't want to cause conflict.
Yeah.
But if we don't stand up, they're just gonna steamroll us.
Right. I agree, man. So comply or resist, and so it takes one person at a time, man. So if you stand up and you continue to voice your opinion and inform people, as well as everybody that's watching, hopefully there'll be a trickle down effect or domino effect where more people will wake up to what's up, and eventually when they start talking about it's time to go get that vaccine, it's more people now saying, F that, we gonna stand up and we gonna fight this to the T. That's what I'm hoping for down the line. So
I've encountered lots of patients in a retail setting, and as a pharmacist, I was trained to offer vaccines. And you'd be amazed how many people are like, hell no, I ain't getting a vaccine. Last time I got it was the only time I got sick.
Yeah, and
so I don't think people are really going to be on board with this. And I think anyone who does get on board with first vaccines, A, they're going to get super sick, and B, a whole bunch are going to die.
Yeah, and then if that happens, it's going to be hard to either convince people or to really make it optional still for that second or third batch. And so by that point, they may be trying to talk about we're on our fifth or sixth wave of cases and all that lockdown stuff, and we can't open back up until you get it. And then, of course, we know warp speed is about putting the military every damn where. So,
wait, what was that? You said the military?
Yeah. So the Operation Warp Speed is what Trump he's signed that as I think an executive order that would allow logistically to have the military disperse all the vaccines across the country. And so I'm like, what usually you just send it through FedEx or something like that to local hospitals or your pharmacies. You don't necessarily need the military to deliver, the vaccines to the people's house or to people so that's a part of the Operation Warp Speed. So it's very vague in nature, but it's military, vaccines, logistics across the country. So those 4 things are in that operation. So,
well, I'm pretty confident though that the military has taken an oath to the Constitution. And in every coup d'etat we see around the world, it's always led by the military, and they're always taking down what is perceived as like a corrupt government. So I don't really think they're going to go that way. I think they might kind of stand with the people on this one.
Yeah, I hope they do. I wouldn't be mad if they decided to, basically what's it called, to not obey the orders. Yeah, so definitely if they did that, I would be a very happy man as well. So. But hey, man, appreciate you calling, man.
All right. Thanks, Mike. Love your work, bro.
Thanks, buddy. Appreciate you.
All right. See you. Bye.
Yeah, man. Definitely. I hope that's a great time for the military to go AWOL and choose not to obey if it comes down to that. So, but of course, I'd imagine the orchestrators of this, they're aware of that as well. And they probably have some backup plans for us. But anyway, let's keep moving right along. A couple more minutes. We're going to dial back. What else here? Highlight at Rethinking a Dollar in the chat or give me a call. Let's talk about it. We got Anthrax. Says Cuba has a cure. Farrakhan says Cuba has the cure. Tony Blaylock. So when it comes to that particular thought there, I personally am a believer that the Cuban medicine is a lot more advanced than what we have been told here in the developed world or in the U.S. in general. From firsthand experience of having, when I went to Cuba and actually had, some conversations with people who have had cancer that was cured right away, and so they got some stuff down there that I think is legit. So I would not be surprised at all because Cuba has been dispersing medical doctors all across the country, and I'm thinking that's a very small island. How could they afford to disperse medical doctors unless they are probably bringing something with them in the form of a treatment or a cure, or to better study it so they can come back home and solve the problem? Hello, caller. What's your name? Where you calling from?
How you doing, Mike? It's no blood pressure, Corpus Christi. How you doing tonight?
I'm doing good, my man. How you doing? What's on your mind tonight?
Oh, man, I'm just excited, Mike. Finally, it's coming, Mike. It's coming, Mike. What do you call it? This whole COVID thing or whatever,
Yeah.
People are catching on, Mike. Everybody knows it's BS,
Yeah.
These people, they're gonna have to move with this hyperinflation. They're gonna pull the trigger here soon because they need that distraction, and they're running out of time, unless they invade some country or blow up a building or do something like that. You know what I mean? They're running scared.
So you saying a true false flag might be in the works.
Either that or you know what I mean? Or they're gonna use this COVID for cover because everybody I talk to now, Mike, everybody's like, this is BS. Ain't nobody getting sick, and everybody's testing positive. That's not even sick. They just go to the doctor. I got people at my work. It seems like they're just going to the doctor just to get diagnosed so they could get 2 weeks off.
I don't doubt it, man.
That's what it seems like to me. I don't know. I hope they're not sick, but it's like they're giving free paperwork to everybody. And now, in Texas, if you even look at someone with COVID, I think now you're a COVID case or something crazy like that.
Say that again?
Like if you show symptoms, but you haven't been tested, they're in Texas, they're counting you as a COVID patient. That's what I was watching on I don't know. I don't know exactly if that's true or not. But there was a lot of people saying that they're not even counting the deaths anymore because the numbers don't make sense. So now they're trying to beef up the numbers of cases to scare people. Because since the deaths ain't scaring people no more, now they're trying to find a different tactic.
Yeah. So that's I don't doubt it, man. Like, because as of now, as I mentioned earlier, it's all about just the word cases. The cases are increasing, or the numbers are increasing. That's it. And so from that, all the governors are talking about we need to shut things down, and so worst case scenario, if they really truly cared about saving the economy and keeping the things moving, keeping people employed, they would say, hey, people, we're gonna ride this thing out. Like, it's gonna cause a lot of problems, but we're gonna ride this thing out and try to overcome it, as opposed to succumbing to it. We're gonna just toughen up and we're gonna let this thing ride out and let chips fall where they may, as opposed to the tit for tat, left, right. I'm shutting down. I hate him. All that political crap, man. Like this, it's turned out to be a clear, well, I would say deep state type of push towards further dividing our nation and trying to use that whole left right paradigm as a way to do it. So yeah.
And the thing is that the money's already been everybody's like, they're going to print trillions, they're going to print another trillion. They have so much money hiding. They have a false scarcity. They want everybody to think that money's scarce. That's why they're probably pulling coins and bills out of the system. So you won't think there's a lot of money sloshing around. But there's quadrillions out there, Mike.
Yeah.
We just don't know it.
I don't doubt it. And on top of that, we're not the only country out there being slushed around the entire globe, man. So yeah, but we're witnessing more and more other countries, as always. Currencies are having issues, and we still have the advantage that we have the reserve currency for now. So that buys us a little bit more time. And as long as J.P. Morgan is not able to continue to rig and stuff like that, that buys us more time to get our weight up as well. So I'm not mad. So that's why the $18.50, $19 an ounce silver is not the real price anyway, because it costs $24, $25, $26 to get it. But I would hate for it to go more. That's going to mess up my chance of getting my weight up still. So I don't want the price to go up, low blood pressure.
Well, just do what I do. Go get a credit card, remortgage your house. Do it now.
Yeah, man. So I can't quite convince my wife to do all that, but I see where you're going, though, man.
If she listens to your show, she knows it's just a number in a computer. It's not even real.
Yeah.
You're getting something for nothing. It's the best scam in the world.
Yeah, try selling that to an emotional creature that's built around security and comforts already, knowing that it's going to be adjusted for sure pretty soon. She's not too excited to give up a little bit of comfort she has right now in the hopes of getting more weight for being able to trade it off down the line.
Mike, it's all in your mind. Look, if you have a home and you have the cars you need, there's no need for no more credit. So just go max it out, get your silver, and then and then write it out, and then say, sorry, bank, I ran out of money. See, when a bank lets you borrow money, it's their liability. If you don't pay it back, well, you shouldn't have let me borrow it. You should have done your research. Just like when you lose at the stock market.
Yeah.
You should have done your research.
Yeah, good point, man. Hey, man. But it's always good to hear from you, man. I appreciate the thoughts and analysis, man. Be good, man.
All right, Mike. Have a good night. Bye-bye.
Yeah, man. Yeah, so we oh my goodness, interesting, man. Anyway, let's keep moving right along. What it says, let me see here. It says no college football to bet on. So yeah, that's another thing, man. Like think about this. Like, as of right now, the way things have been set up when it comes to sports. I mean, I must admit I'm a sports man, so it's good to be able to take your mind off things, but watch some sports every now and then. But I'm like, as of right now, this fall and winter, outside of a lot of people have already gone through all the TV series you can imagine, and so sports has always been that what is it, like a good way for Americans to escape and to enjoy themselves on the weekend type of thing. And imagine how crazy it's going to be this fall with no football, if it comes to that, and then in the winter with no basketball. Like, people will be on lockdown, and you're gonna hear about all types of craziness going on in homes around the country if people don't have ways to blow off some steam. Anyway, man, buy sports cars, they're on fire. Money is what we all need. Just wish I had a little. Our travel still trying to locate a proper dog. Anyone know one? All right, man. So we're approaching that 55-minute mark, man. About to get ready to dial back. As always, it's good to hang out, get a chance to check in and find out what's happening around the country. College online. And so as of right now, I saw that the Ivy League canceled their fall sports, assuming that's football included. And so I'm not sure what sports you're going to be watching online. But we'll take our last call here. Hello, caller. What's your name? Where you calling from?
This is Pat from Alabama. How you doing, Mike?
I'm doing good, my friend. How you and Captain doing?
Oh, we're doing just fine. We're settled back and looking at all this. You got the Kung Fu Blue. I like that. And you got the economic crisis. You got silver skyrocketing. You got J.P. Morgan going to court, and they're going to somehow have to liquidate that big bundle of silver they got. And I'm wondering how that's going to affect the silver market. But if you wrap all this stuff together, even the Chinese wanting to go to war with India, us and the Philippines, what are they covering up? What is all this stuff doing? What are they trying to hide?
The end of this current monetary system, perhaps? The shifting of power and all that other stuff in between.
Yeah, I guess, but we've got so many distractions. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
You couldn't tell whether the sky was falling or not.
Yeah, a lot of people are feeling a lot of people are feeling the sky falling on them, or a little bit more weight or pressure on their shoulders these days due to, being told what you can and can't do, and there's just a discomfort in being it and walking around and not knowing if you can go down this way or go in that store because of how people might look at you with the mask on, no mask on. And we're always having to think these days, in a negative sense, of where people are feeling it now, I'm sure.
Yeah, and people are getting they're getting tired of it. I mean, give me a law, don't give me a rule. A rule is something to break.
Yeah.
They got all these rules about we can't get within 6 foot of each other and all this happy stuff. It's just getting ridiculous. And I'm wondering, what on earth are they covering up if they're using this stuff as a cover-up? I'm going to let you go, Mike.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, just really impressed by your audience. I got a short story to tell you.
Go ahead.
I've been wearing my T-shirt for about 3 days now. The long sleeve T-shirt I ordered for me, I just didn't have the cleavage to hold it up, Mike. So I gave it to my neighbor, and I'm twice as happy now.
That's good, man. Well, I appreciate your support, Pat. It's always good to hear from you, my friend.
Okay, and I'll be buying some more stuff. I do favor this. Y'all have fun and enjoy yourself.
All right, man. Be good.
Sure, bye.
Oh, man. Good to hear from Pat, man. Appreciate your support of the channel, boss, man. All right, people. Well, that's all she wrote for tonight. And looking forward to being back at it tomorrow. Same time, same place. Definitely, let's keep our eyes open. And as always, let's come back together and talk about the news stories and share our thoughts and opinions and go from there. So, as always, enjoy the rest of your night or morning, wherever you're watching from. Be blessed, be safe. I'll see you guys later, Lord willing. Peace.